Good afternoon, everybody. Just gonna grab a drink of tea while everybody pops on. Hello, Doris. Hello, Christy. I see there's a couple more people on, but it just doesn't tell me who's on. So thanks for popping in today. Hope you guys are doing well. Hello, Joanne. It is certainly feeling more like spring here. Finally. Hello, Debbie. I think everybody is ready for spring. We still have tons of snow around, but it will be gone soon. And I always feel like making spring cards and doing things with florals this time of year. So this is the card that we're making today. It is created with stamping foam, which has been out for a while, so you've probably seen demos with it. We're going to use an embossing folder today for our background, but as well to create our own stamp with the stamping foam. And it's just a really cool technique. So I was looking for some ideas and I went on Simon Hurley's YouTube channel, and he has such a wealth of information about any of his products on there. And he had something where he did a similar technique, and I thought, okay, that's what we're going to do. So we've got our stamped and colored image. We're going to use some Distress Oxides, and we're also going to use some Distress watercolor pencils. And when I grabbed the colors to use, I was just thinking kind of spring-like colors. And so I grabbed these ones, and then I was excited to find out that these ones were actually in the watercolor pencil packs, the same colors. Now you wouldn't have to have the same colors. I was just basically looking for some purples and green, but because they were the same, that's what we're going to use. Hello, Irene. How are you doing? How was your weekend? Must have been amazing. The sets that we're using for the watercolor pencils. Number one, that one has the Villainous Potion in it. Hello, Rosie. And then number three has the Shaded Lilac and Rustic Wilderness in it. You had a blast, I bet. I bet that was incredible. I'm so glad that you had fun. So we've got the stamping foam. Now this comes in a pack with the circle cut out. And so you can use it together, you can pull it apart, you can use both sides, you can use edges. Go for whatever you feel like using. Hello, Karen. And, there's lots of different techniques that you can do. We are just going to use the inside circle today, and I'm going to show you how to create your stamp. So it's my sister's birthday on Saturday, and she is a crafter. She doesn't do a whole lot of card making stuff, so I don't think that she's ever used this before, but I made her up a basket or a box of stuff and mailed it to her, and I put in a piece of stamping foam. So I thought, there's lots of ideas out there for using it, but I would kind of give her an idea on how to use her stamping foam, and I think she'll love it. She has a heat gun and she has ink. She does a lot of watercolor. So I think that she'll have fun with that. If you've never tried it before, watch along, and I know that you'll have so many different ideas. So we also have the Robin's Nest Dewdrops. Now we just got a whole shipment of these in the shop. And if you're looking for the new things, you'll find them under scrapshotz.com, and then new. They're not these exact bottles. We got a whole bunch of different mixes. Yeah, Rosie's done a lot with stamping foam, and it is fun. And there's lots of different mixes that have different shapes and sizes and colors. Really great ones. So have a look at what's there, and we're going to apply those. I've used the diamonds for this one because it kind of looks to me like a sparkle. We are also using this Bee Shimmery, and honestly, I kind of forgot about this on my shelf, and I was looking for something to do on the background because we're embossing this with the same folder that we're going to use the stamping foam to create our stamp. But let's see if we can try and get that in the camera. It is a beautiful shimmer, and I'm going to show you how to create that and put that on the background. In real life, it's even more shimmery. So that's the Honeybee Stamps Bee Shimmery Liquid Watercolor. And you can add this to paints or watercolors. We're just going to use it with a little bit of water and use it in the centers of our flowers and then over top of this embossed area. And we've got some distress oxides. So you'll be able to do this technique with whatever inks that you have, as you know, if they're dye-based inks, and you can spray water on them and you kind of see them move around. The oxides are really, really nice for this. But whatever you have. And then I grabbed the black soot oxide pad because that's what we're going to create that black outline with. It's actually a really neat technique. So the folder we have, now Spellbinders has, like so many beautiful 3D folders. This one just came out, and I know that there's more coming if it does sell out. 4-petal floral, but I'm pretty sure there's still some in the shop. And this one here, they've got a whole 4-petal release. So there's different dies and stamps and stuff that go with it. But this is the folder, and it's quite large. Let's see, 5.5 by 8.5. So you can do your slim lines as well as your A2 or 5 by 7 cards. And they've left this piece in the center open, and you'll see what it looks like when we run it through. But you have these gorgeous flowers around the outside, and then you could emboss it and put whatever you want in the center. We just happen to be popping up this image here. What else here? We've got Spellbinders. We've got the Pink Fresh. So this is an older one, but I really use it a lot. So it's, I can't remember exactly what it's called, Stitched Circle, I think. There's 4 dies that come in the pack. So there's this. You cut the center part, and then this is an outline, just like we have here. And then there's one that's exactly the same, but smaller. So we're going to cut around our circle, and then we are going to, we've got the brushed silver Spellbinders paper, which is gorgeous. And it is gorgeous to emboss as well. That would look really beautiful embossed on that folder. So this is cut with the Pink Fresh dies, the circle dies. I love this stitching detail. And then the sentiment is cut. Let me just grab that. So here's the brushed silver cardstock. You get 10 sheets in the pack, and it's 8.5 by 11. Hello, Judy. And then the Pink Fresh floral border, and we've used this a few times in the last few lives. I'm going to use the Always Here For You, and that actually comes with the die set, if you have the set. So that's the one that we're going to use, but lots of different sentiments that are absolutely beautiful. And I die cut that up. So we'll use a few other things along the way, but we will get started. And we'll move some of this stuff out of the way. So we'll start off by heating up our stamping foam. Okay. So you can see we've got this design. We can leave this on here for as long as we wanted. If we wanted to keep it on, hello, Jenny. But the great thing about this is that you can heat it and redo it as many times as you want. So don't forget too, you can do anything on the sides of these, on the backs of these, and they're really priced very reasonably. So I have a card that I did quite a while ago. I don't have it right here, but I actually used this to press into some burlap, and I got a burlap texture, and that means you have a burlap stamp. So whatever you have around your house, anything with texture, you can create a stamp with it. We're going to grab our heat gun, and I'm just putting this down because I'm in my basement in my craft area, and it's not cold, but it's just a little cooler, and I don't want to blow the hot air directly on it. So I'm just turning on my heat gun, and you're going to be able to see that the dimension on the stamping foam is going to slowly erase. So I'm going to put it down because I don't want to burn my fingers. And we just run that heat gun over it until it's flat again. And you might see a little tiny bit of staining on it, and that's fine. So basically this material, we can heat it up, and then we press it into whatever we want. So that looks to me like it's got rid of that dimension, and we're going to work fairly quickly. We're going to press it in. I'm going to press it right into the corner here. And I should have had this ready, but I'm going to press down with this stamping grid and just give it a really nice firm press. And let's have a look. Now, sometimes it's hard to tell whether you've got a good impression, and usually the impression is definitely more than you think you have. So we're just going to go with this. If it doesn't work, you can do it again. You can heat it and redo it. Now I have a couple pieces of yellow tape, and all I've done is kind of fold it over, and I'm just using this to adhere the stamping foam to, and it creates that. I'm just trying to decide whether, I just feel like I need to heat that a little bit more, because otherwise we're going to have to do this all again. Hello, Debbie. So I'm just going to go over it once more and just make sure. It might have been totally fine, but I've got everything ready here now, and then I can just press it right in. Move this stuff over. And it's just paper, so if we did press it in and it wasn't quite perfect, it's fine. That looks like it's pretty flat. Okay, I think this is going to give us a better impression. So then I'm just pressing this down. And yeah, I feel like that is a much better impression than I got the first time, I think, just because it took me a while to grab the block. So let's stick that on our block. We can put our embossing folder to the side for a minute. And we have a piece of, let's get our paper. I've got a piece of cardstock. This is just, I think it's about 110 pound. I tried this on watercolor paper, but what I found was that because we're going to spray it, the design really spread rather than, oh, thanks, Rosie. Hello, Heather. This paper is just regular paper. And so you know that if you put a stamp or anything water-based, even though it's water-based, it's really not going to move around. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to press my stamp onto it and have the design and really not have anything move after that, because after that we're going to add some things. Is there a different in the sides? No, you can use either side. No difference. So it doesn't matter which one you use. So I grabbed these little daubers. I don't really even know where these are from. Maybe Stampendous maybe or something. I had them. Any kind of small brush probably would work. I want to make sure that I'm getting the ink onto my stamp. So that's why, now the first one I did, I don't know where it is right now, but I used just a regular blending foam, and that worked too, but it's larger, and so I couldn't get a really detailed effect. So I found that the smaller, if you have any smaller daubers, or cut a sponge into a smaller piece, would totally work. That allowed me to get into the recessed area. So basically, we're adding the ink first into all these little areas. So I've grabbed Shaded Lilac and Villainous Potion and Rustic Wilderness. Those are the colors we're going to use on our flowers. And all I did was dab them, and you can kind of see where the outline of the flowers are, but again, I'm really not stressing if I color a leaf purple or color a flower petal green. I just want the idea of those flowers. And I found just dabbing the dauber onto the stamping foam really got that ink onto here. And the nice thing about the Distress Oxide is that as soon as you spray it with water, that ink is going to wet, and that's what we want. So if you had something like Stays On or Archival, if you sprayed it with water, it's just going to stay on there and it's not going to re-wet and go onto your paper. This looks to me like it might be a little bit of a flower here, so that's what we're going to do. Now we are going to go with the Villainous Potion, and that's going to be the center part. And all I'm doing is kind of moving it around. So I'm going in the center and then I'm adding a little bit of shading. And it really doesn't seem to pick up that ink that's in the background. So I didn't have any ink that really transferred or got anything mucky. So you can see that we've got the lighter ink and then the darker. If you just wanted to do this with two, you could as well. I just like the look when you have a couple different colors. And then we've got Rustic Wilderness. We are going to go over it afterwards and fill in any of the spots with our Distress pencils. So we don't have to worry too much either if something isn't perfect. So all I'm doing here is now I'm going over all the leafy areas. So there's so many different embossing folders that you could do this technique. If you just had a folder that didn't have like a specific flower, then you could add, rainbow colors, or you could just add a whole bunch of different blended or 3 different blended colors and spritz it with water, and that would look beautiful. Alta New also has some really beautiful floral folders. And of course, there's lots of folders out there with like a focal image on the folder that this would work for. Okay, so we have our colors down, and now we're going to take our black soot. Hello, Linda. And all we're going to do is drag this over the top. And I was originally concerned that this might really muck up my ink pad, but nothing really transfers onto it. So that's kind of good. I thought if I use the ink pad, it might, but this seems to work, and I didn't have any problem. So we are going to stamp this onto our paper. I have this stamping mat here just to give me a tiny bit of cushion. And I'm going to spray this with water. I'm going to do this off to the side so I don't get blobs of it. But basically, I'm going to hold it back a little bit, give it a spray so it's not dripping wet, but I'll show you. Hello, Lorraine. I gotta find a place to spray that's not doesn't have anything in the background. Okay, so here's a look. I gave it a spray. There's water droplets. I mean, it's fairly wet, but it's not soaking wet. And we have that yellow tape on here to hold our stamping foam, and we're just gonna place it down. And then you want to give it a really, really good impression, because we want those recessed areas that we put the colored ink, the flowers and the leaves, we want those to touch the paper as well as the black. So let's try it. Ooh, that looks good, hey? I did try doing a second stamping, but there's just not enough ink on it, and nothing really came off. Hello, Cora Lee. So isn't that beautiful? I love the detail of the black. It seems to just make those colors pop. Yeah, so easy. Okay, so we are not done yet. Now we are going, and then all you have to do to clean this off, I just give it a little spray. You can take a rag or a baby wipe and just give it a really good wipe, or you can run it under some water. Then you can use it again as many times as you want, or you can heat it and start again. Okay, so we have our colored flowers here, and now we're going to, thanks Joanne, thanks Lorraine, now we're going to go in with our watercolor pencils. I could have totally left it just like that, but I thought let's kind of see, because we have the matching pencils, what it looks like when we put these watercolor pencils on. So I've just got a water brush. I'm going to sit down for this. Yeah, that reveal is so cool. So I'm just starting with the shaded lilac. And I like, when I'm coloring, let's zoom in a little bit. And this is super easy coloring. Because this isn't watercolor paper, if I were going to get rid of this part, so I'm just going to show you. If I scribbled on this, I would get a little bit of movement, but you have those scribble marks and not everything moves because it's just plain paper. So what I really like doing is using my brush just to pick up some of that color, and then I can just paint this on and add it to any areas I feel like need. And you can see I don't need to be super detailed. I'm just following the flower, and it's going to soften a little bit as it dries as well. And I just keep picking up color, and my water brush is just helping that move around. Once the color's on there, it's not going to move around anymore. So these are really great for painting images on watercolor paper. But I love that you can also use it just on regular paper. And even though we've got the Distress ink on the background, it's not moving around because it's soaked into the paper. And it's not really, we don't have to worry about this picking up the black and making it really muddy. And the watercolor crayons add just a really nice, soft effect over the background. So we can go over that black and it almost softens it a little bit too. So just a quick way to add some color. Then I usually just have a wipe or a tissue, and then if I want to clean off my brush, I'm just dabbing it, or you can just dip this into water too. Simon Hurley stamping foam. Yes, thank you, Jenny. We're using the Simon Hurley stamping foam, and we heated it and pressed it into the Spellbinders floral embossing folder, the 4-petal floral. Okay, so now we can go in with our Villainous Potion, and we're just going to paint in some details. And you do have a little bit of time, like you have some time to move this around. But once it's dry, it's going to be stuck on there. So I can, paint the little shading lines and make it look like there's shadows. And just go around the edges. You don't need a whole lot of shadowing. The black does a really nice job because we rubbed the black soot over top, so it does a really nice job of giving us that outline. And just do that until you feel like you're happy with the shading that you added. And now we can go in with I know, it's super easy, Jenny. And then this is the Rustic Wilderness. I was thinking about using a couple shades of green, and I feel like it doesn't even need it because you've got the green in the background that went on with the oxide. And then you've got the watercolor crayon with a little bit of water, and so this is softened a bit, and you still have different shading details, different levels of shading. But you could go in with a second green as well if you wanted. So the stamping foam that's in the shop, that looks like it's purple, so maybe we'll go back and add a little purple there. The stamping foam in the shop, there's the one with the circle in it, and then there's a smaller one that's a pack of 4 that you can get. I mean, how simple is that? And then I'll just add this petal. That's so easy. So if you have anything, like just start thinking about all the things around your house you could use. Now, before we dry this, we are going to get out our liquid shimmer watercolor. Actually, let's do our embossing first, and then we can do both of those things at the same time. So we're going to emboss our background with this. Let's zoom out again here. Hello, Wendy. So we've got our 4-petal floral folder, and I've got a piece of the same cardstock. This is 110 pound, I think, something like that, maybe 100 pound. I'm just spritzing it with water a little bit, just because this is a 3D folder and you get so much dimension. So I usually like to add a little bit of spritzing, and I'm just eyeballing this to move it into the center, because we're going to put our floral image right over top of that middle part. Of course, this is not cooperating on camera. There, I think that's good. And with the universal system, with the extra plates that you can get for the Spellbinders Platinum 6, you can get some adjusting plates so that you can run through any kind of 3D embossing folders. It makes it a little bit easier if you've struggled with different sizes of folders. So here it says 3D embossing folder sandwich. You've got your adapter plate, the gray one, your embossing folder, and your base. And on the Spellbinders website, I'm just going to run this through, there's a page that has a whole bunch of different manufacturers and what you would use for a sandwich. And then the plates for the universal system are a little bit longer than the original plates that come with your machine. So you can do slimline and all that kind of stuff. Otherwise, just play around and figure out what your set goes to. Now look at the dimension in this. It's just amazing. So if you just wanted to use it like this, stamp a sentiment in there, add some die cuts, or, and it's really gorgeous. But we are going to use that for the back of our card. So in order to use the Be Shimmery liquid watercolor, we're going to shake it up, because you can see the shimmer does settle at the bottom. So you want to make sure that's really shaken up nicely. And again, you can add this to, if you wanted to do some painting and add this to it, you could add this to your paints or your inks. We're just adding a little bit on the edge of our mat. You can always add more if we need it. And I'm going to put a little bit of water. So the first thing we're going to do, you can see how shimmery that is we are just going to add that right to the center of our flowers. And can you see that shimmer? It's just gorgeous. So pretty. And then, because we already have this out, we are going to take a sponge dauber and we're going to dip this in. Maybe we'll add a little bit more water just to keep it wet. And then we can go over the background. We've got wet shimmer. We might have to add a little bit more shimmer. Have a look at this. Oh yeah, I can see it. And all I'm doing is dragging this over the surface. So have a look. Can you see that shimmer? Sometimes it's hard to catch that on the camera. In real life, it's so shimmery. I don't know, can you guys see this or not? Oh, I think you can see it kind of right there. Anyway, it's beautiful. So that's a beautiful way to add some shimmer to anything that's embossed really quickly. And then that just rinses out. So we'll let that dry for a second. I'm going to take my heat gun and just dry this a little bit. We're going to use the inside of that Pink Fresh dye. So I'm going to die cut this out. So I just want to make sure it's nice and dry. And actually, while we have this going, let's just dry this quickly too. So I'm going to take the inside of this die, a little bit of this yellow Spellbinders tape, which I love, and I'm just going to line this up. And run this through. What's everybody been doing this week? Are you guys doing anything for St. Patrick's Day tomorrow? We don't go out or anything for St. Patrick's Day, but my youngest daughter has created some traps. So she will be trying to catch a leprechaun. And here is that beautiful inside piece. So we're going to layer that on the Spellbinders brush silver. And I think Sandy said I can show you a sneak peek of something coming to the shop. So after we're done this, I think we're pretty good for time. Let's see. Yeah. I'll give you a little sneak peek of something coming in the shop. Okay. Here's our centerpiece. And I don't think it would really matter what way you put that on the card. We've got our background, and this is fairly dimensional. So I did just use my art glitter glue on this one, but I kind of held it a fair amount. Hello, Terry. And I thought, let's just see what a tape runner, if that seems to hold it right away, so you guys don't have to watch me holding this down. And so this is not working. There's so much dimension on this. Let's try just some double stick tape. But like I said, I did use liquid glue and that held. I just had to put something heavy on it and hold it for a minute. So Erica has her whole leprechaun village. She saved her leprechaun traps from last year and has set them all up, and they actually weren't traps last year. So both her and Amy hesitated to make traps in the past because they did not want to trap the leprechaun. So they had quite an elaborate house. He's got a pool up there, a bathroom, really lots of amenities. But Erica decided she would make a trap this year and I guess see if he manages to stay out of it. That's the only thing about double stick tape is that then, it's like watching me pull the backing off. What would you, I don't know. Well, I guess apparently you can make a wish and he grants your wish. So there's that. I don't know if she's thought about her wish though. But he usually does make a bit of a mess in the house and leave some gold, chocolate coins. All right, we've got, look how dimensional that is. It's so pretty. Yeah, she's so funny. And then we're going to use this giant roll. This is the Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L tape, which I love. And I love that the backing comes off it so nicely. I feel like if you have a big roll of the tape, you definitely want some scissors that are non-stick. So then we can just decide, I think we'll have it kind of like this. And it fit perfectly to cover that inside piece. And I just love that the same flowers are on. It looks like we have a coordinating stamp and background. Okay, so now we have the sentiment somewhere, which I just saw a minute ago. There it is. And the strips are the Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L again, but I think there's some other ones in the shop as well. And those are definitely some of my must-haves for any kind of small sentiments, or if you're making a shaker card, like, they're just perfect. Then you don't have to cut your strips. And you don't have to cut your larger foam tape into strips, and you can just have small ones. So we've got always here for you, and I stamped that with the Villainous Potion. Alrighty. And we'll just place this. It looks pretty straight. Now we have the dewdrops, and the ones in the shop are a little bit different. They're the same beautiful glass jars. I love displaying these. But there's different mixtures in the shop, so be sure you check those. They're just beautiful. I'm going to grab the diamonds. But you can see there's different shades, and there's teardrops and round, different sizes of round ones. And within the mixes too, there's different colors. So I'm going to grab two of the, usually I use the circles, but I thought I would use the diamonds just to give that sparkly effect. And then I'm really liking the extra strong Stamperia glue to glue on any embellishments that are a little bit bigger. So that is something that's in the shop as well. And this Studio Cadia wand works really well for putting on sequins or anything like that. I find these are a little bit heavier, so you almost have to grab it by the edge. The edge of the little wax tip, and there's replacements for those wax tips as well. And sometimes too, if you just warm up that wax tip with your fingers a little bit. If you find that it's not picking up something, then that will help you just pick up what you're trying to pick up and move it. All right. So here's our pretty, sparkly, always here for you card. I love it. I love this stamping technique. I'm going to be using lots of different embossing folders to do that kind of coordinated look. Let me move this stuff off. I'm going to grab what Sandy said I could show you. It's not in the shop yet, and she doesn't have pricing yet. But if you're interested in it, you can email her or leave a comment. So we stopped doing the kits, specific monthly kits, just because it was really hard to tell what products. Thanks so much, Terry. Thanks, Irene. What products were coming in when. And so Sandy from Scrap Shotz decided that she would just have kits when she could. Let me see if I can zoom out a little bit here. Like we're still not there. So she has gotten, there's lots of the Paige Evans in the shop, and then it looks like she's putting a kit together as well. There's some extra papers, and this is what's in this bag, and I am assuming it's a kit. I was just texting quickly, and she quickly texted me before the live, so she said she doesn't have pricing yet, and it's not in the shop, but keep an eye out for it if it's something you're interested in. So I'll go through the paper. The paper is gorgeous. This is her new line. Hello, Julie. So the Paige Evans Blooming Wild. And this is what will be in this kit. I love that it looks like she's done this blanket stitch around the letters. The florals are just gorgeous. Thanks, Debbie. And this is the back. And so this is a nice way to see these papers too if you are looking for some of the items in the shop and just wanted to get a close-up. This paper is beautiful. Yeah, the kits are so nice. And she does such a wonderful job of putting together a nice assortment. That is gorgeous. There's a lot of paper here. I believe there's 12 sheets. Isn't this nice? I love the kind of quilting and sewing feel to this. But lots of florals, very nice and springy. It would work for summer as well. Isn't this pretty? This lovely cut apart. You've got some cut apart tags. The plaid on this is gorgeous. Then we've got a full sheet. I really like the colors that are in this as well. And then I love that this looks like, rickrack and different zigzag designs. This one has the rainbows, but almost, they've got like the stitching look in them. Isn't that pretty? Hello, Marilyn. And then look at this beautiful tiny floral. Then we've got a full sheet of floral. I think that's kind of her signature thing. And these stitching lines. This would go well too with the new Lawn Fawn that's out with the stitching mice. And then we've got more strips with the stitching. The flowers with this ombre effect. This one has polka dots and the navy. I love that she's got the navy in there too. And then this is your cut apart tag sheet. And this is a watercolor stitched hearts. That's beautiful. And then the yellow stars, isn't that pretty? And then we have the cut apart. Looks like it's various sizes. They're so nice. These are great too to fussy cut if you want to use the images. And this is beautiful. Then the diagonal stripes with the florals and the stitching. And a tone-on-tone floral. That's very pretty. And then we've got this absolutely gorgeous acetate. And it's got foiled holographic foil. It's a really, really nice weight. And you can cut out the images, you can cut out strips, use it on your pages, make shaker cards. It's just beautiful. And then we've got some coordinating papers in here as well. Then we have this 6x12. It's double-sided, and this is the puffy stickers, radiant puffy stickers. Look at all these words. I love all the puffy flowers and the hearts. So gorgeous. Oh yes, for mini album covers would be perfect. These are great for titles. I love the colors of these. And of course, I love puffy stickers, so I think those are fantastic. These are chipboard frames, so perfect to frame a little photo or an image. And you get 18 in there. And then there's the small puffy stickers. There's 45 in here of those little flowers and clusters of flowers. And then the embellishments. So this is a look at all the embellishments that are in here. Some words, some cut aparts. These are always great, these banners that you can cut apart and add whatever you'd like to. It's a really beautiful collection. Then we have the Studio Katia Spring Garden. Isn't that pretty? These are little sequins, and the colors do go so nicely. And then we've got these charms in here. Those are so beautiful. And charms you can add to your pages. You can add in planners or mini books. And then I'll give you a look at this paper. This is the extra paper. You'll find this in the shop, and I have a feeling that she'll probably do this as kind of an add-on if you want to pick up the extra papers, because these are the other 12 that weren't in that. So this one, so pretty with the hearts and that quilted look, and then a really pretty green stitched. And then this one is the blue background and pink stripes. I think Paige always has to have some butterflies. These ones have flowers in them, so gorgeous. And then a pink tone-on-tone with the wavy stripes. This is fabulous. Can you imagine cutting these out and adding these as like journaling areas, or an area to put your date on your layout, or even just to stamp something or stamp a sentiment. And then that navy again, that's so pretty. This is beautiful, and I think you could just frame this. I would probably just frame this. I have some 12x12. Wouldn't that look nice? Hanging on your wall. And the diamonds. There's a whole background of letters. So if you like fussy cutting, you could totally cut these out and have all kinds of letters. I think I would totally do that. Sit down and watch a show and just do some fussy cutting. But if you don't like fussy cutting, just use that as your background. This would be super cool. And then you've got a blue floral background. This is beautiful with those same florals, but in a larger dimension. And then a plaid. I love plaids. The green and white with the yellow centers, the white flowers with yellow centers are beautiful. And then you've got a grid. It's almost like a kind of a wavy hand-drawn grid in rainbow colors, which is very pretty. Hexagons. I'm seeing lots of hexagons lately. Really beautiful. And some more of those flowers. And the rainbow plaid. So pretty. And then an ombre stripe. That's really nice. And then we have another floral with that purple in the background. And oh my goodness, look at this heart paper. It's so pretty. And then lastly, this rainbow flower print with a blue-green kind of ombre. So those are really beautiful. I love seeing those close up. It really gives you a great idea of what that collection looks like. So be sure to watch the Facebook page or Instagram, and I'm sure when these are ready and up in the shop, then you'll be able to pick them up. Or if it's something that you want for sure and you want to email sandy@scrapshotz.com, then you can do that. There's a lot there. It's beautiful. So that's it. And that's all I have. And thank you so much for hanging out and playing along and making this fun card with me today. If you have some stamping foam, then you'll be able to grab it and try some stuff. We still have our challenge. Thanks, Terry. Thanks, Joanne. We still have our challenge in the Scrap Shotz paper crafting group. So we want to see black that, makes your project pop. If it's cards or if it's scrapbook layouts or any kind of paper crafting, that challenge is on till the end of the month and someone will win a $25 gift card. So make sure you get your projects into the album in that group. And have an awesome week. I hope that you guys get some time for crafting. Have a fun St. Patrick's Day tomorrow if you're going to go out. Thank you. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.